Hey guys, welcome back to Ranger Survival and Fieldcraft. I'm Andrew. What I have for you guys today is Mora Kochanski's survival kit. Stand by. Alright guys, so welcome back. Today what we're going to do is talk about Mora Kochanski's survival kit. Not the 2 kilo bush pot kit. I've done a video on that one and I'll leave a link above so you can take that one and view it and the compare and contrast between videos on the survival kit items. Now, the kit we're going to talk about today is the kit that Mora Kochanski put inside of an entire cooking kettle or pot to include a coat, a saw blade, and some other items for survival. Now, I have some critiques about that survival kit. Obviously, it's been a few decades since that kit was created by Mora's, and so there have been adaptations and improvements to technology and survival items. So we're going to add a few items to that kit. I'm going to show you a few tips and tricks and then different adaptations with Mora Kochanski's philosophy on that survival kit to affect survival out here in the bottomlands. So here is Mora Kochanski's survival kit, not unlike the bush pot kit, the 2 kilo version, usually reserved for students, but this is going to have a lot of the same items. It's going to miss a few items, but Mora's took all of these items, was able to fit it inside his cooking kettle or pot. Now I only have a 2-quart pot here, and I can barely get this collapsible coat inside that pot, so I'm not even going to try to get the remainder of the items inside there like Mora's did, but we have all the items here to illustrate the kit. So for that first item he recommends is just a simple survival knife like this Mora Clipper, about a 4-inch cutting surface, Scandi grind, high carbon steel, so we can strike a piece of shirt off the spine and get sparks. Then the spine itself is 90 degrees, so we can strike with our ferro rod. Good rubberized handle for gripping, and then good for campcraft like feather sticking for fire lighting, especially in wintertime. Got that sheath with the red and yellow tape, highly visible, red cordage, so we can carry it in a neck configuration like Mora Kochanski did, but just a good, reliable survival knife. It's cheap, easy to use like this Mora Clipper. First item. Next, saw blade. Recommends fingertip to nose length from an outstretched arm, but a saw blade. Processing large material, we can make a bucksaw frame with our knife and then fit our blade in it to use to take down large sections of material. Recommends a few types of cordage go into this kit. We got Bankline and paracord, good survival cordage right here. And then he recommends Mule Tape, or in this case this is nylon cordage, 5/8 inch wide and about 12 feet. But this nylon cordage is 1,800 pounds tensile strength. So it's very strong. We can use it for a variety of purposes. We can use it for things such as recreating backpack straps instead of pulling from natural material. Or if our backpack straps that we have break, we can recreate that with this Mule Tape with a ladder style pack frame or a Roycroft pack frame, and then use those to fit our backpack, and we're back in business to be able to continue to traverse through the wilderness. Next, for fire, ferro rod, thousands and thousands of sparks, appropriate tinder in this area, and we can use this ferro rod with that tinder to get a fire going, especially feather sticks. Then he recommends a mylar sheath and then a polyethylene sheet. This mylar blanket is about 7 feet by 5 feet, and then the polyethylene sheet is about 7 feet by 10 feet. Use this for a super shelter. I'm going to show you how to make a different super shelter here shortly. And then a 2-quart bush pot or larger for boiling and purifying water to remain hydrated in that survival situation. And then finally, a coat, a good coat that is water repellent and wind resistant to stay warm in, especially at nighttime, so we can get that good sleep. And then last but not least, Mora Kochanski had a little bag as part of this kit with a few odds and ends in it. Let's go ahead and lay this bag out so you guys can see the actual items that he recommends inside. As part of that little bag he recommends having in here, first thing is just a set of tweezers from a medical kit. Next, he recommends having a compass and a whistle for signaling, compass for land navigation. A sewing kit. This is just a military style sewing kit with all that good stuff in there. Next, just a fold of tape and then some water purification tablets. This is just a Ferro or Fresnel Lens for fire lighting with the sun's rays. Next, signaling mirror, just a mirror from a camo compact from military face paint. A series of band-aids for small lacerations, cuts, or abrasions to the hands. He made note that we often get a lot of cuts to our fingers, especially on our non-dominant hand using a knife, so having band-aids to apply to those injuries is important. Snare wire for setting up snares to attempt to catch some game. And then lastly, fishing line and several hooks and sinkers we can use at a water source to attempt to catch fish. Now on this side, just a bunch of items and recommendations to adapt Mora Kochanski's survival kit. The biggest critique is that his kit, a lot of the items in there are not as durable as some of these items, and so we add those items in here to make our kit longer lasting. First thing, tools, hatchet, taking down large materials, processing it for campcraft. And then a folding saw, just a ready-made saw, good to go, that we can take down material. Makes life easier than having to build a buck saw frame from scratch and then use it. Next, canteen, a canteen cup with a 32-ounce bottle and a 25-ounce nesting cup. That's almost the same amount of water as that bush pot over there on the other side of the bench that we can purify and have ready in one go. Plus we can take a lot of that water, put it in this canteen and travel with it. So that's good to go. Next, just a filter down here in the bottomlands at least. I don't know where you guys are at, but having a way to purify water instead of making a makeshift filter and then drinking red swamp water is a lot easier and more appealing as opposed to doing it the old hard way. Next, for shelter, having a good sturdy mylar blanket like this grabber, and then add a few drum liners to create shelter. And then a few items for camping here. Spoon, ready-made spoon to eat food that we get or bring with us. 2 more fire lighting devices. We have a lighter here and then a match case with some stormproof matches inside, waterproof, ready to go. And then on the outside of that, we just have a 550 cord around it with a small hook, and this is just a makeshift hobo reel for fishing. Tape, more duct tape or Gorilla Tape. A flashlight. This is probably the biggest thing that Mora Kochanski doesn't have in his kit. Next to Shemagh, we can do a lot with the Shemagh. Wrap it around our head, use it as a piece of cloth. This is 100% cotton, turn it into char cloth. We can do a lot with the Shemagh. And then food, this is another big thing that Mora Kochanski doesn't have in his kit. It's just ready-made food that we can have with us. For more campcraft items, using bungee cords, like these military bungee cords, and then having some stakes already made makes life just a little bit easier in a survival situation. We don't have to have this because we have a lot of cordage, but having these makes life just a little bit easier. And then lastly, one of the big things that Mora's doesn't bring, but I would highly recommend, is some sort of backpack. It's just a military assault bag from the BDU era, just means old, and they can fit a lot of good items in this bag, cheap. You can find these at a lot of surplus stores, and then we can carry all of our kit in here and all the materials we're going to collect as part of our survival situation. All right, let's talk about our shelter really quick. Now we have a suspended shelter and we're going to turn it into a super shelter using the techniques from Mora Kochanski's super shelter. Now we're out here just doing practice today, getting training in today, because we're going to use this shelter in a future video for winter survival training. All right, now the first things we need to construct are our 2 tripods. We have one here at the head end and then one at the foot end. We're going to get pieces of material and cut them down. They need to be 5 feet to 6 feet in length, 2 to 3 inches in diameter, and strong enough to hold our weight. We're going to wrap around the tops of our tripod while they're laying on the ground with our Bankline 5 to 6 times, creating our wraps, and then go in between our tripod sticks 2 to 3 times, creating our fraps, and then finally tying off on one end to make our actual tripod section. This tripod needs to be strong enough to hold our weight. So all we have to do is get up on it and test it with our weight, and if it can hold all our weight, it's good to go. All right, so once our tripods are set up and lashed, good to go, we want our horizontal sections. These need to be about 8 feet in length, maybe a little longer depending on your height, and then 3 to 4 inches in diameter. We harvest that material, bring it back, clean off the outsides from broken branches so they won't puncture through our drum liners, and then we take our drum liners, cut holes in the 2 corners at the bottom of each bag to slide our horizontals in. We slide our horizontals in, and then the bags, the openings, should be facing each other on our shelter. We scoop debris from the forest floor into the bags, and then we can actually set up our bed frame on our 2 tripods. Once we have those set up, we can lash them in place with a simple lashing just to make sure they don't slide on us, and then take more debris from the forest floor, simply put it on top of what will be our bed, open up the middle flap, and then just slide it in one side, and then slide more debris in on the other bag. That way we have an even distribution of debris to insulate us from the convective breeze that's going to be underneath our shelter. Even with the fire out front, we still have that debris underneath us to insulate us from cold air and current. And then now all we need is the polyethylene sheet over top, fire out front, super shelter complete. All right, our suspended Morris Kochanski super shelter is complete. Okay, you can see it's taking my weight right now. We're good to go. We've got 2 strong tripods with our horizontal beams going across, held together with our drum liners. They're filled with debris to help insulate the shelter from underneath. We've got our thermal blanket that's wrapped on the backside, and then even underneath to trap all that radiant heat, not only from our body, but from the fire we would have out front. And then we've got that polyethylene sheet, that secret to a super shelter, draped over top and then tied at both ends. All we have to do is just throw it over top of the shelter, secure it once we're inside, and we're good to go. Very cool super shelter technique, suspended up off the ground, ready to go for our winter survival training here in a few months. Sweet. All right, guys, down and dirty video today. Most of the training out here was for yours truly, and you guys were along for the ride. I hope you enjoyed it. We took a look at Morris Kochanski's survival kit and then adaptations or additions to the kit for durability and just being able to last longer with a lot of the updates from technology and improvements to kit over the years since Morris Kochanski first came out with his survival kit. But I hope you guys like this video. If you did like this video, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, leave me a comment in the comment section. I always appreciate your feedback. I want to thank you guys for everything you do for me, for the channel, for your likes, your views, your subscriptions, your comments, your feedback, and your shares. And I'll be back with another video as soon as I can, guys. Thanks.